Back at it.
Good luck at yours.
Team draft, Wimborough, week 2.
Sure. Just keep it.
Yeah. Keep it congenial.
Ready to go?
Let's do it.
Right on.
Hello and welcome to another Bloomborough team draft. I'm Rev, and let's see what I open this time. Going up against the Frog Squadron this time. Kind of happy seeing a Sticky Tongue Sentinel there. It's like not exactly where I want to start, but at least it's a decent card. See a Feed the Cycle, which is a nice little upgrade to it. And then we do see a couple of pretty strong gold cards in the pack there. The rare Lunar Invocation and the uncommon, was it Seed Glaive Mentor? The Mouse Valiant uncommon thing. Also very good. Can be a huge threat if it's not dealt with immediately. But really it just comes down to Feed the Cycle here as a premium instant speed single color removal spell. I've said before that removal is not the most exciting thing in this set in particular. Just in general, the modern limited we live in, every creature is a 2-for-1 at this point, but you still need to be able to remove things, so removal still just gotta have it. Pick 2, we see the Dowerport Mage, which again, it can be very powerful, of course. It's like the highlight of a good Frogs deck. But having said that, I just picked a black card, which is not a Frog card. And so I value flexibility here a little bit more highly. And so the Patchwork Banner being a colorless card, that's going to be pretty nice in just about any deck I play. And it sounded like Sparky agreed with me there. And then also, if I do end up at Frogs from here, it's not like, I'll be sad to miss a Dowerport Mage, but, Frog deck doesn't require one to function. I do certainly feel some regret here as we see the second one come in immediately afterwards. But that is almost immediately alleviated by the side of the Vine Reap Mentor. I'm sure if you watched last week's draft video, I am pretty happy playing some sort of Golgari base deck, and the Vine Reap Mentor is just a true highlight piece of that deck. I've already got a nice black removal spell for it. And honestly, the power level between these two cards can be argued. It's not clear that Dowerport Mage is better than the Vine Reap Mentor, in my opinion. So we're gonna, plant an early flag in Golgari Squirrels here and see what happens. Pick 4, we see Scales of Shale, a pretty useless rare, and a couple of decent red uncommons. The Pathmaker, it's usually a 2-for-1. There's something to be said for that. In general, though, I am not super excited to get into red or blue in this format. That's another reason for passing on the Dowerport Mage earlier. It's just, green being the strongest color by a lot is just even more amplified in a team draft pod where, just playing to the odds, you're more likely to see good cards of green, black, and white than red and blue. So trying to be in those colors, basically what I'm saying is it would take something much stronger than like a Pathmaker to pull me into red. And so I'm just picking a, pretty early Scales of Shale here over very little. It's a fine card. Not super excited to be picking up, and there's another Dawn's Truce in this pack too. Not super excited to be picking Scales of Shale pick 4, but there was just, like I said, not excited to get into red for those uncommons, and want to maybe carve out my Golgari lane a little more, which we can continue to do with the Treetop Sentries here. The Night Fisher, I could, like if the Treetop Sentries weren't here, I would probably just spec on the Night Fisher. I think it is, it's a giant beater that gums up the ground if you play it in a dedicated bird stack. Luckily, the Treetop Sentries is here though. Like everyone kind of knows that the bird stack doesn't come together super well. Also, the fact that the bird stack asks you to play a certain number of non-birds, so the Night Fisher just feels a little homeless in that sense. But obviously, a 5-mana 4/5 flyer is still just going to be pretty good. But still happy to take a squirrel there that draws me an extra card. And here we're, we see another. The Skyskipper Duo is just fine. The Nullguard's just fine. A couple more red cards, but having just picked up something that requires foraging, I'm pretty happy to play a Heaped Harvest, or to pick up a Heaped Harvest immediately afterwards. And here, of course, we can see again this table sort of knows what's up, and we're seeing nothing but red and blue cards as we get to the wheel here. Having said that, clearly seeing that both of these colors are open, none of these cards are particularly exciting or powerful. At least not in how the meta of this format has played out. So I'm really struggling here. I think I end up going with the Heirloom Epic. It has been a pretty solid sideboard option for me against slower decks or removal heavy decks. Even if you're not like a Rabbit's deck, which is obviously built for paying 2 or 3 mana per turn and tapping a creature to draw an extra card, can just win you some games in a team draft. And again, not looking to take any of those red or blue cards, even though, of course, the archetype seems pretty open. Now here, pick 8. Again, nothing but red and blue. I am somewhat interested in... Well, obviously I'm interested in playing green. And having passed 2 Dowerport Mages at this point, I think just go ahead and sort of hate picking the green frog, the 1-drop frog there. Just to sort of talk, if my opponent ended up taking one or both of those Dowerport Mages, maybe I can convince them that frogs isn't worth getting into. Unlikely, but again, I need a bigger reason to get into red and blue in this format. For that one, though, the High Stride is not something that I'm anxious to play, even if I were base green. Like Golgari is just not really interested in a combat trick. And so I figure if I'm essentially forced into playing blue, then the Otterball Antics will be probably just fine and playable. Here, double Runaway Together. Dawnstruce, of course, is unplayable. But I can just take another Sunshower Druid here. And hopefully, if my opponent took one or both Dowerport Mages, like I said, then they will not get quite so hooked up. I'm pretty happy here, actually, to see a Fountainport Bell pick 11. That's just something that's always going to make my deck and make my mana a little bit stronger. It seems a little late for that to be going, especially seeing how seeing the texture of the packs apart from stuff like that. So yeah, not a particularly strong start here. I think we've got a solid foundation for a Golgari deck, and we're also pretty well set up to splash any good cards we see, between double fixing off the Heaped Harvest, Fountain Pour Bell, and just Golgari being more equipped to splash than pretty much any other archetype in this format. So still don't hate the spot. And we just wrap up pack 1 here. You know, the druids, the 1-drop green druid, could also potentially help make an heirloom epic activation cheaper. They can essentially act as mana dorks for that specific artifact. Not something I'm looking to do specifically, but something to keep in mind. Here we see another Sentries, a Carrot Cake, both of those very, very strong cards. We see an Overprotect, which would probably be the pick here if I didn't see the Thorn Vault Forager immediately afterwards. It's just going to be a premium pickup that plays so well with all the other cards that I want to play, essentially. I've got a couple other squirrels that it can grab. I've got things like the Heaped Harvest and the food from the Mentor that I can forage away to add extra mana or fix. So that's just another premium piece of fixing to get picked up there. It's a card that pretty much has to be answered whenever it's played in the game. So yeah, pretty happy about that open. Pick 2, we see Nocturnal Hunger in the front here. The Builder's Talent, of course, would be something that I could potentially think about splashing. It's really good if you're making a lot of food, which I certainly seem to be interested in, at least at this moment. But the Wix Patrol hiding in the back there is just such a powerhouse, I think. You know, it's a 2-for-1 removal spell, dangerous body, mills things that I can forage or recur from the graveyard. It just does it all. Really excited to see that. And then we get to follow it up here, I believe. See Heaped Harvest, of course, which would be fine. Nocturnal Hunger would be fine as well. Oh, I guess it's still coming. Never mind. Not this pick. Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't hate playing a second Heaped Harvest in this deck. Lightshield Duo I pull up to the front here as well. It's been one of the better blue commons. But I also don't hate just picking up another nice instant speed removal spell here. And, you know, if I'm making a bunch of food, I'm probably gaining some extra life. Don't mind paying the 2 as much to avoid giving my opponents food. Here is the pick, the Coiling Rebirth. You know, we see a Rabid Gnaw, which I don't love passing. We see a Mind Whisker, which I would probably have splashed. Yeah, I would have definitely splashed it. But having just picked up the Wix Patrol, like Coiling Rebirth, get back double Wix Patrol, is just kind of a game-winning combo. And yeah, the Mind Whisker would probably be just fine. You know, I don't, you know, surveilling every turn on upkeep is pretty powerful. I probably wouldn't have Threshold turned on as much, so it wouldn't be maximized in my deck, I'm sure. But then in pick 5, we see this Ral over basically nothing, like Pawn Prophet, Oak Hollow Village. I'm not super interested in playing the Agate Blade Assassin. None of these red cards, Seed Pod Squire, that's doing nothing for me. But yeah, obviously, once again, very clear that is wide open at this table. But until now, I have not seen anything that would convince me to play Is It. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. Obviously, it's Planeswalker. It's a powerful card. And I am set up to splash to a certain degree. It might be a big ask, the 2 pips of different colors, but we'll see. Could pick up even more fixing and just play all my good cards. Here we see another Scales of Shale, Agate Assault, and a couple of other lizard cards. 3-tree Mascot. I guess I'm considering Agate Assault here since I already have one red card. I might want to play more or just continue to see if red gets passed to me. At the same time, though, we go back and take a look here. I'm definitely not hurting for removal, and getting into red or splashing an Agate Assault doesn't seem super exciting. The second Scales of Shale in a non-lizard deck also seems less exciting. The 3-tree mascot, of course, is not exciting, I would say, but it would potentially help me fix a little more if I wanted to try and play this RAL. I also have the Patchwork Banner, which just always pumps the 3-tree mascot, so it's not necessarily completely useless on the battlefield either. Pretty happy to see another Treetop Sentries here. It's pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. If we're looping back around to the Golgari food plan, which of course is what I would prefer to be doing based on what I've seen so far. Yeah, just kind of... Yeah, I don't think I'm hoping to play the RAL at this point, but just kind of tugging it back there. Here we see Take Out the Trash is clearly the best card in the pack, and like I said, like we'll be as open to red as possible. Next up, we see Skyskipper Duo, Light Shell Duo. Not interested in a second Heirloom Epic, not interested in Hoarder's Overflow. Light Shell Duo is just clearly the best card in that pack, so go ahead and take it here. Flip on through, just can see that my strongest cards are mostly black, and my sort of base and fixing is in green, so that's still where I'm looking to be. Obviously, the blue and the red keep flowing here. Here, like Mind Spiral, draw 3 is a pretty powerful effect, but even just a 3/3 flyer could potentially just end a game of Team Draft on its own. So I'll just take one and then take a second one. 2 lizard cards on the end here. Clearly no one is doing that, so I'm just going to take the cheaper one here. Take a War Squeak over a land and a High Stride, a last pick High Stride instead of a land. Don't hate seeing a potential playable. Not something I'm necessarily excited to be playing, but can fill a slot in my 23 if needed. Next up, we see this cash grab that I was missing so badly last week and would certainly love to take it again this week. But once again, we see Tender Wild Guide, and it's going to be, I'm pretty much can't be budged from Golgari at this point, despite taking a bunch of blue cards, taking red and blue cards in the second half of Pack 2. All my best cards are Golgari, so we're going to be playing them no matter what. Sharepot is certainly not the end of the world here. Fabled Passage and a 3-tree Root Weaver are sort of the best cards for me here. I'm not a huge fan of the 3-tree Root Weaver. The 1/3 body just seems to not do a ton in this format. It doesn't have the relevant creature type, and both it and the Fabled Passage would fix my mana for potential splashes, so I'm just going to take the stronger of those two options, I think, in the Passage. Next up, we see a Pawn Prophet, which is just fine for me. Rush Shield Rampager, another Treetop Sentries, a Gev, notable. Just pretty red heavy pack once again. Just looking through here, obviously I'm black and could play red, but my potential, if I were to just start building a lizard stack from here, I just don't think there's any way that it would turn out right. And certainly there are 2 to 3 solid green cards here that I'm pretty happy to play. I think this would be my third Treetops entries. Does that mean I go with the Pawn Prophet here instead? It's possible. I'm pretty sure I'd take one of those two. Obviously, passing Gev doesn't feel great. But I'm trying to, I'd take the Pawn Prophet there. And then, of course, we see a Bushy Bodyguard and a Hired Claw. Lizards is obviously wide open, and I am, as much as this Bushy Bodyguard feels like it would be good to great in my deck, I just, in the end, can't come around to passing Gev into Hired Claw. And as it turns out, that was a pretty bad mistake. My opponent to my left, Quake Test Board, just no one playing red here. But again, I see a Curious Forger, which is like premium for me here. And I, obviously I'm not quite there yet. I think I said last week, I'll say it again this week, that I'm just toning down my tendency to hate pick in this format because it just has not worked so far. And there's just no way that I could have guessed that that the opponent to my left just, I think they took the Gev, but couldn't play it. They were just obviously not set up to play Lizards. So I'm saying it again, even more firmly this time. I'm going to shy away from hate picking as much as possible going forward in this set. Just all the Reptilian recruiters that a Lizards deck could ever want. Nothing for me though, like Thornplate Intimidator, I guess. Honestly though, at this point, I am kind of thinking that I might be interested in playing some number of blue cards, and so a shore up seems not totally unreasonable as a one of. I really don't know. Like, this pack is just going so horribly for me. And now that we're on the wheel, we know that there's just basically no way it can get any better. Like, the best cards here are Raccoon Rallier, Harnesser of Storms, I guess. Just can't really play that. Thistledown Players might be the best card here. Not for me at all. I guess I go with the Barkform Harvester here. Obviously not something that I'm looking to run, but could be a useful sideboard option in a deck that's heavy on milling. So pick 8, and there is nothing but red and a Finch formation. War Squeak, Might of the Meek, Playful Shove. I can't play any of these cards. Plume Creed Mentor, Wildfire Howl. Again, just thinking that blue is going to be playing some blue is going to be kind of a necessity here, so just going to take the closest thing to a playable in my deck in the Finch formation. Okay, we see kind of a late Agate Assault here, but I'm pretty happy to see a Rush Shield Rampager at this point, considering how this pack has gone. I would just take it pretty much any green or black card here, and we're just going to follow it up with another Rampager here. Don't see any reason why not. So yeah, I think this draft was a really big victim of the Play Booster collation. If I had to guess, there just seemed to be way more red cards than anything else, without any real reason to actually play red somehow, despite that. I'm just going to take one of these mini recruiters here. I think my third Kindle Spark duo that I'm not going to play, and I'll land to round it out. So I got almost no, Golgari playables from that pack. These Rush Shield Rampagers are definitely in. I end up with this sort of mess. And this is Alex's Frog Stack, which looks pretty solid. And Rob got a really nice Orsov Bats tech here somehow. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think.
This package is gonna do a lot, dude.